The desert was silent that night. No wind, no sound, only a wide open land under a pale moon. But then the ground shook. A deep roar came from the sky, like thunder rolling through stone. People in a small Nevada town looked up. At first, they saw nothing, only stars. Then one star began to grow bigger, brighter, until it filled the night. It wasn't a star at all. It was a ship. It came down fast, burning through the sky like a falling sun. Its shape was strange, black and sharp, with edges that bent the light. Windows glowed with cold blue fire. A trail of smoke followed it as it cut through the air. And then, with a sound like the sky breaking, it crashed into the desert miles away from town. The shockwave broke windows. Car alarms screamed. The power went out. Then, silence again. By the time the first people reached the crash site, the air was heavy with heat. The sand was glass under their feet. The ship sat in the middle of a giant crater, half buried in the earth. It was bigger than any building they had ever seen, taller than a stadium, longer than a city block. Strange symbols ran along its sides, glowing faintly. But there were no signs of life, no crew, no movement. Within an hour, the military arrived. Trucks, helicopters, soldiers with rifles. They pushed everyone back, sealing the area. Black tents went up, floodlights lit the night, and men in strange suits moved toward the ship. They didn't touch it at first. They only scanned it, walked around it, whispered to each other. Then, slowly, they began to cut into its surface. But they didn't need to. The ship opened for them. A large doorway slid apart, smooth and silent. Inside was darkness, but it wasn't empty. The walls were alive, covered with strange flowing lights that pulsed like veins. The air smelled of metal and storms. One soldier stepped forward, his boots echoing. Then something happened. The lights moved toward him, shifting in color from blue to a deep red. The walls seemed to breathe. The soldier froze. "It's watching us," he whispered. From that night, the ship became the most secret thing in America. They called it Operation Lockbox. The crater was hidden under a massive dome, guarded day and night. Scientists were brought in from all over the world, the best minds in physics, engineering, and biology. They worked inside the ship, mapping its endless halls, touching its strange machines. And then they made a discovery that changed everything. The ship was not broken. It was healing. Every day, the damage from the crash faded. Metal plates bent back into shape. Cracks in the walls closed. Scorch marks vanished. The engines, which had been cold and silent, began to hum again, low at first, then louder. The sound vibrated in their bones. Some scientists thought the ship was repairing itself. Others thought it was waking up. And it wasn't just healing, it was learning. One day, a young engineer named Carter placed his hand on the ship's control panel. Symbols lit up under his skin, shifting until they formed English words. The controls changed shape, fitting perfectly to his fingers. Carter stumbled back in shock, but the ship didn't let him go. The controls stayed shaped for him, ignoring anyone else who tried to use them. The more the humans worked on the ship, the more it seemed to respond to them. Engines began to turn, lights came to life, and rooms they could never open before suddenly unlocked. They found a massive chamber deep inside a hangar filled with smaller craft, sleek and deadly. Each one was armed with weapons no human military had ever seen. But there was something strange. Every piece of the ship, every weapon, every control, seemed designed for something bigger, something stronger, as if the humans were only temporary users. Meanwhile, far away, beyond human eyes, in the dark of space, something else was watching. On a distant space station, a group of alien officers stared at a holographic display. It showed the crash site on Earth. The ship was there, glowing brighter than ever. The lead officer, his skin pale and eyes black, hissed in their language. "They have it. They won't understand what it is," another said. "They will," the leader replied. "And when they do, we are finished." They had abandoned the ship for a reason. The war they had fought over it had cost them entire worlds. They had chosen to leave it rather than let its secret free. But now, humans had it. Humans, a young race known for their speed of learning, their stubbornness, and their hunger for power. The alien leader closed his eyes. "Send the message," he ordered. Back on Earth, inside the ship, Carter felt a sudden vibration under his feet. The lights on the walls shifted again. Words formed across the panels in perfect English. "They are coming." Carter stepped back, his mouth dry. "Who's coming?" he whispered. The lights flared brighter, the ship's engines rumbling like thunder beneath the desert floor. And for the first time since the crash, the ship spoke. Its voice was deep, metallic, and cold. "The ones who left me." The sound echoed through every hall. The scientists froze. Outside, the soldiers turned toward the ship, their hands tight on their weapons. In the darkness of the desert, the stars above seemed to shift, as if something was moving out there. Something big. The ship was not just a machine. It was a warning, and the warning had just begun. The dome over the crash site rose higher every week. A silent steel shield hiding the desert's new secret. Inside, the air was always thick, filled with the low hum of the Starship's heart. Soldiers patrolled the perimeter. Scientists moved in and out like ghosts. And deep underground, the real work began. Carter stood in the ship's main control chamber, his hand hovering over the strange black surface that had once shaped itself. For him, even now, the memory of it still made him uneasy. It had felt alive, warm, almost breathing under his fingers. But every time he touched it, the ship responded. And not just to him slowly, to others too. It was learning. The scientists had divided into two groups. One group believed they should take the ship apart piece by piece, learn its secrets, and use its power for Earth's defense. The other believed they should study it, but never activate its weapons. The first group was winning. Day after day, Carter and his team explored new sections of the ship. The corridors shifted sometimes, stretching into shapes that weren't there before. Rooms appeared where there had been only walls. They found weapon bays filled with sleek black cannons that seemed to hum with trapped storms. They found massive engines, their glowing cores slowly pulsing back to life. They found data rooms with holograms of planets, none of them. Earth-and diagrams of creatures no human had ever seen. But the most alarming thing was how the ship was changing to fit them. The chairs reshaped for human bodies. The controls translated to English. The doors responded to human voices. It was like the ship was replacing its own history with theirs. Then came the first test. The military wanted to see the ship's weapon systems. Carter argued they didn't know enough yet. But the generals didn't listen. They gathered in the weapons bay, ordered the ship to lock onto a targeter, metal drone placed far in the desert. Carter stood at the panel, feeling the hum rise. Through his arms, the lights shifted to a deep crimson. A single pulse fired from the cannon. There was no explosion, no fire, just silence. The drone didn't exist anymore. Not even dust. It was as if the air itself had erased it. The generals smiled. The scientists did not. That night, Carter stayed inside the ship alone. He walked the dark halls, feeling the strange pull of the walls around him. He stopped at a door he had never seen before. When he placed his hand on it, it opened without a sound. Inside was a circular room filled with black glass panels. When he touched one, it lit up not with words, but with visions. He saw alien worlds burning under the ships. Fire. He saw armies falling, cities vanishing. He saw the ship flying alone through a shattered sky. And then he saw something else, something inside the ship. It was not a weapon, it was a presence. It looked at him, though it had no face. He felt its voice in his mind. "You woke me." Carter stumbled back, his breath sharp. "What are you?" "The ship is not yours," it said, the words echoing inside his skull. "It is mine." Carter ran from the room, his heart pounding. He didn't tell the others what he had seen. He didn't know if they would believe him, or worse, they might believe him and still keep pushing forward. The next morning, the experiments grew bolder. They activated more weapons, tested the smaller crafts in the hangar, even flew one into low orbit. Everything worked perfectly, almost too perfectly. It was as if the ship was waiting for these tests, enjoying them. But then came the first sign that something was wrong. One of the scientists, Dr. Lin, entered the ship one evening and didn't come out. They searched for hours, scanning every corridor, calling her name. Finally, she walked out of the control room, but she didn't look the same. Her eyes were unfocused, her voice distant. When they asked what happened, she only said, "It showed me." When Carter pressed her for details, she whispered, "We shouldn't be here. We shouldn't touch it. It remembers what it was." That night, Carter couldn't sleep. He sat outside the dome, staring at the stars. Somewhere out there, the ship's creators were still alive, and if they had left this ship behind, they must have had a reason. Then, as if answering his thoughts, the ship sent a signal. It was faint, almost hidden in the static, but Carter caught it on his console. The signal wasn't in human code, it was in the alien language the scientists had been struggling to decode. But along with the alien words, there was English. Just 4 of them. "Return the ship, now." He stared at the message, his hands cold. The military would never give it back. They would keep pushing, keep testing, until they understood every part of it. And maybe, by then, it would be too late. Inside the ship, deep in the room of black glass, the presence stirred again. It could feel the aliens out there. It could feel their fear. But it could also feel something else, human ambition, and it liked it. The next morning, Carter arrived at the dome to find the air thick with tension. Soldiers stood in clusters, speaking in low voices. Inside the operations tent, the generals were gathered around a screen showing a strange pulsing signal. It was the one Carter had intercepted the night before. No one said where it came from. They didn't have to. The lead general, a hard-faced man named Briggs, pointed at the pattern on the screen. "This," he said, "is a transmission from outside our solar system. We don't know how far, but it's coming directly to the ship. We're not sure if they know we're listening, or if they want us to hear it." Carter's mouth was dry. "It says, to return the ship." Briggs nodded slowly. "We've translated parts of the alien language. It's not just a demand. It's a warning." A scientist stepped forward. "They say the ship wasn't abandoned. It was contained." That's why it was left where it fell. It was too dangerous to destroy. The room went silent. Carter remembered Dr. Lin's empty stare, the way she had said, "It remembers what it was." He could feel the presence in the back of his mind now, faint but real, like it was listening. Briggs broke the silence. "We don't know if this is a scare tactic or the truth. What we do know is that this ship changes everything. We can't give it back." And with that, the meeting ended. But the ship had its own plans. That night, the lights inside the Starship shifted from blue to a deep, blood-red glow. Carter walked the corridors alone, the hum in the walls now louder, almost like a heartbeat. He found himself back in the black glass room. The panels lit up on their own, forming an image an alien. Fleet. Hundreds of ships, all pointed toward Earth. "They come," the voice said in his mind. Carter gritted his teeth. "Why? To take you back?" The presence was silent for a moment. Then, "No, to stop you." Images filled his mind, cities burning, oceans boiling, skies black with ash, ships like the one he stood in tearing holes in reality itself. Not one war, many, whole star systems falling, and always, at the center, this ship. Carter staggered back. "You're a weapon. That's why they fear us having you." The presence's tone shifted, almost amused. "I am not a weapon. I am war." Before he could respond, alarms echoed through the dome. Carter rushed outside to see soldiers pointing toward the sky. There, far above the atmosphere, small points of light were appearing. Not meteors, not satellites, ships. The alien fleet had arrived. They didn't come in guns blazing. Instead, they stopped at the edge of Earth's orbit, forming a silent wall in the darkness. One ship, larger than the rest, moved forward. A transmission came through every human channel radio, TV, even cell phones. A voice spoke in clear, perfect English. "Humans, you hold what must not be held. It will consume you. Return it, or all will burn." The president's voice came soon after, firm and unyielding. "Earth does not bow to threats. The ship is ours now, and we will decide how to use it." The aliens did not answer. They didn't need to. Carter returned to the control chamber, feeling the floor vibrate under his boots. The ship's systems were coming online faster than ever. Weapons bays opening, shields flaring to life, engines humming with raw power. It was like it could smell the enemy. Then, without his touch, the main control panel lit up. Words formed in English. "Choose, them or me." Carter stared at the words, his pulse racing. "What happens if I choose you?" The lights on the walls flared so bright he had to shield his eyes. "Then you will never be weak again." The sound of distant thunder rolled through the hull. It wasn't thunder, it was the alien fleet powering up their weapons. Earth's defenses scrambled, missiles armed, fighters launched. The first standoff in human history against an interstellar enemy had begun. But the ship didn't wait for orders. It began to move on its own. Soldiers shouted as the ground rumbled. Metal clamps holding it to the earth snapped free. The massive engines roared to life, blasting sand and stone into the air. The dome around the crash site tore apart like paper, and then, with a deafening boom, the Starship rose into the night sky. Carter stood in the control chamber, the presence filling his mind. He felt its hunger, its excitement. For the first time, he understood this wasn't about humans or aliens. It was about the ship finding a new war to fight. Outside, the alien fleet broke formation. For a heartbeat, Carter thought they were retreating, But then he saw it. They weren't moving away. They were surrounding Earth. The presence's voice was a whisper now, almost tender. "Let me show you what I was made for." Carter closed his eyes. Somewhere deep inside, he knew once the first shot was fired, there would be no going back. And then the ship fired. The desert was gone. Beneath the Starship, the land blurred into shadow as it climbed higher and higher through the atmosphere. The Earth curved below, glowing with city lights. The alien fleet loomed above like a wall of black steel and cold fire. Inside the control chamber, Carter felt the presence flooding his mind. It wasn't speaking in words anymore. He could feel its emotions: hunger, excitement, anticipation. It was as if the ship had been asleep for centuries and was now fully awake. Alarms blared. Across Earth's defense network, military satellites tracked the alien fleet's every move. Fighter jets launched from carriers, missile silos opened, and orbital weapons locked onto targets. But against hundreds of alien ships, it all felt like throwing stones at a storm. The alien flagship sent one final message to humanity. The voice was low, heavy, and desperate. "This is your last chance. Give it back before it chooses you." Carter didn't answer. He couldn't. The ship wouldn't let him. Its control panels shifted under his hands, locking him in place. Around him, other crew members struggled to keep their balance as the floor hummed with power. The ship was building energy enough to shake the air itself. Then, without warning, the alien fleet opened fire. Beams of searing light cut through the darkness, targeting the human starship. Shields flared around the vessel, each strike splashing against invisible walls of force. The crew watched in disbelief. Had never built anything like this. The shields didn't just block the attacks, they absorbed them. Carter's vision blurred as the presence surged in strength. He realized it wasn't simply protecting itself, it was feeding on the enemy fire. The ship's power grew brighter, the hum turning into a deep, rolling thunder. It was ready to strike back. A panel in front of Carter lit up, showing dozens of red Icon's enemy ships locked in its sights. He could feel the ship urging him. It wanted him to choose a target. "Don't do it," a voice behind him said. Dr. Lynn was there, her face pale. "Carter, it doesn't care about sides. If you let it fight, it will keep going until nothing is left." He looked into her eyes. "If we don't fight, they'll destroy us." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "That's what it wants you to think." But it was too late. The ship didn't wait for his permission. A beam of light, pure and blinding, erupted from its main cannon. It didn't travel, it simply existed. One moment in the barrel, the next slicing through space. The first alien ship vanished without even exploding, as if erased from reality. Panic spread through the alien fleet. They broke formation, scattering to avoid the same fate. But the ship moved with impossible speed, tracking them like prey. One by one, alien vessels fell, consumed by that same terrible light. Inside, the crew could hear the ship's voice now, not just in their minds, but in the air around them. Faster, stronger, more. On Earth, the world watched in silence. News networks broadcast the battle live images of a single human-controlled starship tearing through a fleet that had once terrified entire civilizations. People cheered, thinking humanity had just proven itself as a power among the stars. But Carter saw the truth in the black glass panels. The ship wasn't fighting for Earth. It wasn't defending humanity. It was testing itself, measuring its strength against the only enemy that dared face it. and it was winning to Icily. The alien flagship didn't run. It moved forward, straight toward the human starship. The two vessels faced each other in the emptiness of space. Then a transmission came through, not in English this time, but in the alien tongue. The ship translated it instantly. "You do not understand what is inside you." The presence answered before Carter could. "I understand enough." The flagship fired everything it had: beams, missiles, energy waves. The shields shone like a second sun, absorbing it all. Then the human starship returned a single shot. The alien flagship shuddered, half its hull disappearing into nothingness. But instead of dying, it sent one last message. "We tried to protect you from it. Now we must protect the galaxy from you." Carter felt a chill run down his spine. This wasn't a victory. This was a declaration. The galaxy would never stop coming for them now. Dr. Lin gripped his arm. "Carter, we have to stop it before it decides Earth is too small for its war." But stopping the ship wasn't an option anymore. Its systems were locked, its course set. Carter didn't even know if it would let him leave. He could feel its thoughts merging with his. Threads of alien memory weaving into his mind wars older than human history. Enemies that weren't ships or armies, but things so vast they blotted out stars. The ship's voice was calm now. "One battle is not enough. I will take you to where the real war waits." The alien fleet regrouped at the edge of the solar system. Smaller now, broken, but not destroyed. They didn't chase. They didn't have to. Carter realized with a sinking heart. They were waiting for the ship to leave, and when it did, they would close the gates behind it forever. The presence in his mind whispered one last thing before the engines roared to life. "You are mine now." The stars ahead stretched and twisted. Space itself bent. And the ship, with its unwilling human crew, jumped into the dark. Asterisk, the stars were no longer familiar. Outside the viewports, space rippled like water, bending around the ship as it tore. Through the void, Carter gripped the edge of the control panel, fighting the strange weightlessness that came with faster-than-light travel. Every second, he felt the presence inside his head grow stronger, like vines wrapping around his thoughts. He could see flashes of memories that weren't his. Worlds burning under skies split in two, oceans boiling away in seconds. Towers taller than mountains crumbling into dust. Armies of metal and flesh fighting side by side, all under the command of a single will. Same will now inside this ship. Dr. Lin was pale, clutching the edge of her seat. "Where is it taking us?" Carter didn't answer. He knew the ship, could hear every word they spoke, and he wasn't sure if speaking the truth would make things better or worse. The hum of the engines deepened, vibrating through their bones. Outside, the stars stretched into thin white lines, then into nothing at all. For a moment, it felt as if the ship was floating in pure darkness, with no stars, no planets, no light, only a faint glow from its own hull. Then the view changed. Before them hung a dead star system. The sun was nothing but a black sphere, its light stolen. Around it, fragments of planets drifted like shattered glass, glowing faintly from the heat of their destruction. "This," Lin whispered, "this isn't a battlefield. This is a grave." The presence finally spoke, its voice deep and smooth. "This is where I was born." Images filled Carter's mind, alien hands building the first plates of its hull, not as a weapon, but as a shield against something worse. Civilizations working together, pouring their greatest minds into its creation. And then the thing they had built it for appeared. Carter couldn't see it clearly, was too vast, too wrong for his mind to fully hold. It moved through space like a shadow swallowing suns. The presence's tone darkened. They feared me because I survived what they could not. Lynn shook her head. This is why they wanted it back. It's not just dangerous, it's cursed. Suddenly, a flicker of light appeared at the edge of the dead system. Not one like many, dozens, alien ships, but not the same as the fleet that had chased them from Earth. These were older, larger, scarred by battles that must have been fought eons ago. The ship pulsed with excitement. They remember me. The alien vessels began to close in, weapons charged. Carter could feel their fear, their desperation. They weren't here to fight for territory. They were here to stop something from waking up. Don't fire, Carter said, gripping the controls. If you fight them, the presence cut him off. They will fire first. The nearest alien ship opened fire. A streak of blue energy slammed into the Starship's shields, lighting the control room in a blinding flash. The ship absorbed it without flinching. Carter could feel the power flowing into its systems, feeding its hunger. Panels shifted under his hands. Targeting systems locked onto every hostile vessel. Warnings flared across the displays. The ship was seconds away from unleashing its weapons. Lynn grabbed his arm. Carter, if it destroys them, there's no one left to stop it. Not the aliens, not us, not anyone. Carter met her eyes. He knew she was right, but he also knew the ship wasn't asking for his permission anymore. The presence's voice filled his mind, calm and certain. You are thinking like them. I am offering you something greater. What? Carter asked. Survival, forever. The control panels flashed red, the ship's weapons primed. Carter could feel the choice narrowing, slipping out of his hands. And then everything stopped. The alien ships halted their attack. The ship's weapons powered down on their own. For the first time since leaving Earth, the presence was silent. Then Carter saw it out in the black, far beyond the alien fleet. Something was moving. At first it looked like a shadow, but it wasn't a shadow, it was space itself bending inward, as if being pulled through an invisible hole. The alien fleet broke formation instantly, retreating in every direction. They weren't running from the Starship, they were running from that. Carter's chest tightened. What is it? The presence's voice returned, but it was quieter now, almost reverent. The reason I was made. The thing came closer. It had no shape, no edges, but wherever it passed, light vanished. Stars went out. Space trembled. Carter's vision blurred just looking at it. He felt like his mind was being scraped away, piece by piece. Lynn's voice was barely a whisper. We need to leave, now. The presence didn't move. If we leave, it will follow. If we stay, we see who survives. Carter slammed his hands on the controls. I don't care what you want, take us out of here. The ship did not obey. Instead, its engines roared louder than ever, the entire hull vibrating as power surged into every weapon. The thing in the dark was almost upon them now, its presence like an ocean pressing down on a single drop of water. Carter's thoughts were no longer his own. He could hear the presence speaking to it, not in human words, not in alien ones, but in something older, deeper. And then, for the first time, the presence sounded afraid. It remembers me. The blackness ahead split open, revealing an endless void beyond even space itself. The ship's weapons fired, not at the alien fleet, not at the stars, but directly into the heart of the thing that had come for it. Light swallowed everything. When Carter's vision returned, the dead star system was gone. The alien fleet was gone. Even the black star was gone. Only the ship remained, floating in a place where there were no stars, no planets, no direction. The presence spoke one final time, its voice almost gentle. Now you understand. There is no going back. And then Carter realized the truth. They weren't lost. They weren't drifting. The ship was taking them deeper.